Is CJC-1295 Ipamorelin safe? Well, is it safe? That's maybe the wrong question. Here's the right one. Is CJC-1295 safe? And is Ipamorelin safe? So we can kind of separate those. But this is a question that we get asked constantly, and it's something that we all should consider before we put anything into our body, because one of the things that we want to do is help you get as healthy as possible in the least amount of time possible without risking future health. And so if you're thinking about CJC, well, one thing that you're doing is you're stimulating and changing the way your pituitary gland functions. And so you want to know what's going on. Is it going to hurt you? But here's the thing, it's always relative to context. A kitchen knife is always safe in the right hands. Professional chef use it, I can't believe how fast they cut. You know, they use it 1,000 times without any kind of incident. The wrong hands though, put it in the hands of a 3-year-old, someone's gonna get cut and it's a trip to the ER. And so in this video, we're going to deconstruct how to determine if this is safe for you, how I determine it, if it's safe for me, where you want to source it, because that's a big safety, no research use only, no, not for human consumption peptides. And we're going to deconstruct this whole thing so by the end of this video, you'll understand the safety risks of CJC and Ipamorelin, and you'll understand if this may or may not be the best strategy for your longevity. So I'm Regan Archibald, founder of Ageless Future. I believe that there's a lot of people sick out there. I don't want you to be one of those. So I make these videos because I love peptides. They made a massive transformation in my own life. They do on a daily basis. We've worked with over 70,000 people. We're doing peptides before they're cool. And so today we're going to answer this question about safety. And so CJC-1295 Ipamorelin, it is not a peptide that is FDA approved. Neither of these peptides are. They both work on the growth hormone pathways. CJC-1295, if you look at some of the clinical trials, there's some pharmaceutical companies trying to make this an approved growth hormone releasing peptide, and they stopped the clinical research early because someone in the study had a cardiovascular event. Now, the lead researcher, these doctors, they said, look, we don't think it was related to CJC, but they shut down the study anyways. Now, CJC has been on the Category 1 compounding list from the FDA for a long time, and so it is something you can get compounded, used more like a supplement. It doesn't have any medical conditions behind it, what a treatment would be prescribed for, unlike tesamorelin. Now, tesamorelin is a growth hormone releasing peptide. It got FDA approval maybe 13, 14 years ago for this condition called lipodystrophy. Now, Ipamorelin's in that same camp. It's a smaller peptide chain, one of the cleanest growth hormone peptides, but you want to make sure that it's coming from a 503A compounding pharmacy because it's calibrated to your specific lab work. You can only get these through licensed providers who write the script. Compounding pharmacies make it, and then it's dosed according to your biology. So this means there's no weird website that you have to go and claim you're a researcher, because a lot of these research use only peptides, there's no testing, no dosing oversight, no safety, no monitoring, and the compound is not a finished peptide. And so the danger in asking whether a peptide is safe, and what's not being asked is where does the peptide come from? Because there's two different types of people using CJC-1295 right now. The first group is those of you who are working with licensed providers, physician, nurse practitioners who run the labs first, confirm that you've got the appropriate IGF-1 baselines. They look at your cardiovascular markers. They make sure you've never had any incidences that would eliminate your ability to use CJC-1295, like AFib, some kind of cardiovascular event. They're also looking at your fasting insulin. They're looking at your hemoglobin A1C, your blood sugar. These are all really important. They're only sourcing these from FDA-registered 503A compounding pharmacies. This group has a very high safety profile that's tracked, it's documented, it's adjusted in real time. The second group is ordering peptides from research purposes only websites. If you can get it on your own, there could be some issues there. And if you look at all the YouTube videos out there, there's a lot of injecting going on with no medical context, no lab monitoring, no idea what's actually in the vial. Even though you get this COA, that COA could be photocopied. It is not a finished peptide, once again. And so the safety profile isn't even close to the same. And so most people, when they're asking the question, they're not considering the source of the peptide. And when you're injecting something into your body, Your health is your most valuable asset. You don't want to put any risks there because there are side effects and there are contraindications and they deserve serious medical treatment. And so let's talk about that, because here's what the evidence actually shows. Well, first of all, there's research from Complete Analysis in 2026 where they did a profile review of CJC-1295, which synthesizes the FDA's own cardiovascular warning on the peptide. What does that warning say? Well, the primary documented cardiovascular risk from CJC-1295 include flushing. And if you don't believe me, if my providers prescribe this peptide to you, you'll know what I mean. Your face goes red and your heart starts to beat, and you can get transient hypotension, which means your blood pressure will drop. You can even get sick. You can get to the place where you feel like you're sweaty, you feel like you're going to pass out. It is not a fun place to be. And particularly, that can happen around the time of the injection. I've seen somebody who had a response like this an hour after the injection, but most of you are going to experience it within 30 seconds to a minute after the initial injection. In these patients, roughly 20% of you, it's going to be monitored, and the effects are mild and transient. They are kicking in the gear. They resolve quickly and don't require intervention. But there is one contraindication that every provider and every patient must understand, that CJC is not safe for those of you who had cancer. Growth hormone, because it's a potent anabolic signal, and individuals with history of cancer, you do not want to elevate your growth hormone or IGF-1 levels because you could stimulate, hypothetically, the residual dormant cancer cells. Now, I know there's nuance around this, and I know some people have used growth hormone, human growth hormone specifically, and there's some data that shows if you can keep your IGF-1, human growth hormone levels in the optimal range, you can prevent cancer. But once again, if you've had cancer, if you have any risk of it, this is not for you. So at Ageless Future, this is something that we do in your intake every single time. Your protocol and your review, we look at the literature that supports it and your blood labs. Because what it shows is if you can start increasing your IGF-1 temporarily, just getting little pulses of it, it can improve your lean body mass. It reduces your fat distribution. It has minimal side effects. It doesn't really impact cortisol. It has variable effects on your insulin sensitivity. And yes, we need more human clinical trials on CJC and Ipamorelin. But one of the things I hear from so many people who have used this over the years is this gives them enormous amounts of energy. And so make sure when you're using it, check your IGF-1, fasting insulin, your cortisol, look at your cardiovascular markers, look at your inflammatory markers, and you should see a general improvement in all across the board, all of your markers. Now, even your kidney or liver function. But this only is seen when you're working with a prescribing provider with pharmaceutical grade source, once again, 503A, and that's how you can mitigate some of the side effects. So safe, it's a property of the system it's around. Remember, the kitchen knife in the wrong hands, it's not going to be safe. We just came back from Japan, beautiful country, love the people. And man, when you'd see the sushi chefs wielding the knife, it was like a piece of art. It was so beautiful. And then we saw the archers really looking for the target and spending so much time just setting up to hit the right target. I look at health the same. Yes, we could easily just put you on peptides and you can just choose from a menu and provider signs off on it. And that's what a lot of these clinics are going towards. But what we found is it takes some strategy, it takes some skill to read your blood labs, figure out what the risks are, mitigate the risks, and still find the right peptide structure and stack for you so you get the right pulse at the right time without the risk of some of these things that we've seen, like the cardiovascular risk or having this issue with research use only peptides where these are Chinese knockoff peptides, no batch testing, no purity, no dosing protocol, and most importantly, there's no pharmacist on site that's owning the whole process A to Z. And so if you're somebody who loves your health, it's not me giving you a scare tactic, it's me just explaining what I've learned about how medicine works. And the same principle, it's going to apply to CJC, Ipamorelin, any peptide that we prescribe. The molecule matters, the system matters even more. And so for those of you who want to go deeper, get your blood labs ran, go to agelessfuture.com. And if you love videos on CJC, go to my video on the benefits and risks of CJC Ipamorelin. I'm Regan Archibald. I'll see you there.